General Milley, yes or no to this? Did you talk to Bob Woodward or Robert Costa for their book Peril?
Woodward, yes. Costa, no.
Did you talk to Carol Leonick and Philip Rucker for their book Alone Can I Fix It?
Yes.
Did you talk to Michael Bender for his book is Frankly, We Did Win This Election, the Inside Story of How Trump Lost? Yes.
Yes.
Or no? And were you accurately represented in these books?
I haven't read any of the books.
TV General Mark Milley admits to spending valuable time speaking to the likes of Bob Woodward and other so-called journalists, disparaging President Trump, while ignoring the catastrophe unraveling in Afghanistan.
You spent more time with Bob Woodward on this book than you spent analyzing the very likely prospect that the Afghanistan government was going to fall immediately to the Taliban, didn't you?
Not even close, Congressman.
Oh, really? Because you said right after Kabul fell that no one could have anticipated the immediate fall of the Ghani government. When did you become aware that Joe Biden tried to get Ghani to lie about the conditions in Afghanistan? He did that in July. Did you know that right away?
I'm not aware of what President Biden...
You're not aware of the phone call that Biden had with Ghani where he said, whether it is true or not, we want you to go out there and paint a rosy picture of what's going on in Afghanistan. You're the chief military advisor to the president. You said that the Taliban was not going to defeat the government of Afghanistan militarily, which, by the way, they cut through them like a hot knife through butter.
Milley claims he frequently speaks to reporters to promote transparency with the government. However, a large number of direct quotes attributed to the Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman have Republicans accusing him of leaking sensitive information to authors.
It seems to me that you put a high priority on making sure that you were favorably portrayed by the D.C. press corps. You spent a lot of time doing that. Fair enough if that's your priority, but at the same time, we had a rapidly deteriorating, frankly, disastrous situation in Afghanistan, which resulted in the death of 13 soldiers, including one from my home state, hundreds of civilians and hundreds of Americans left behind. And in my view, that mission can't be called a success in any way, shape, or form, logistical or otherwise. General, I think you should resign. Secretary Austin, I think you should resign. I think this mission was a catastrophe. I think there's no other way to say it, and there has to be accountability. I respectfully submit it should begin with you.
Senator Marsha Blackburn is also railing against Team Biden's military brass. She says it's unconscionable that the Biden administration still has no idea how many American citizens are stranded in Afghanistan, while his generals are focused on their public image.
I think what you did with making time to talk to these authors, burnishing your image, kind of, building that bluster, but then not putting the focus on Afghanistan and what was happening there. General Milley, that is really disappointing to me. I know it's disappointing to people that have served with you or under your command, and it does not serve our nation well. How do you look young men in the eye that are coming to our military academy days and who want to serve and say, you can depend on me, I've got your back? Maybe we're going to remember you three as the three that broke the military.
President Trump is also weighing in on the matter, issuing the following statement. No wonder the Afghanistan withdrawal was such a disaster. General Milley spent all of his time talking to these fake book writers. That's not a soldier, General. That's a public relations agent. Joining us now with more on the Milley predicament, RNC Committeeman David Bossie. David, what is it, this anti-Trump fictional genre? So many of our so-called leaders, they're wasting time, and it's actually costing lives.
This was a shocking development this week, to learn all of the things that have come out of these 2 days of hearings. To find out that these TV generals, as President Trump likes to call them, and accurately, are part of the deep state. This is the swamp that President Trump got elected to take apart. We now know that General Milley spends his time off the record, on background, leaking information, not just to book authors, but to newspaper and television reporters regularly and routinely. This is outrageous. It is a PR agent, not a general. That's the definition of a PR agent. And so We need to have men and women in these leadership posts that are putting America's defense and our national security first, not their own reputations. And that seems to be what Marsha Blackburn did so well in her questioning. She is one of those that did an amazing job, as well as Matt Gaetz, just really, I think, brought it home for the American people so clearly and so concisely.
Well, when he acts like he didn't have time to read the books yet, he had time to give interviews for the books. Of course he's been watching the media reports. He didn't deny that what's been happening in the media, what's been reported that he said in the media isn't true. He just says, oh, I'm going to read it and I'll get back to you on that. What's he doing? Pulling a Psaki? Circle back?
Yeah, Nat, let me just say this. Maybe it's true that he didn't read the book or books, but he's had his staff read the books and report to him exactly in minute detail how he is perceived, what he says, what he doesn't say, what others say about him. That's a guarantee. Okay, he may have been honest in saying I didn't read the books, but he's read reports by his staff about the books.
Exactly. These word games that they play with the American people, even with members of Congress, the American people are so tired of it. We hear these hearings, and even as we're doing it, they're all running on the next anti-Trump book. Let's talk anything Trump. They're trying to distract from what the Biden administration has done. Where are the leakers in the Biden administration to talk about just how incompetent he is?
Well, the American people are seeing it firsthand. I wish we had some leakers. Unfortunately, we had plenty during the Trump White House days that undermined the president. Really, it was unfortunate. But this president is doing it all on his own. He's created crisis after crisis, a crisis at the border, a crime crisis, an Afghanistan crisis, an inflation crisis, and now a healthcare crisis. He is mandating the vaccines to our healthcare workers who for the last year and a half have been on the front lines taking care of those who have COVID in the hospitals. And what is he doing? He's creating a shortage arbitrarily because they won't comply with his mandate. And they have, for the last year, we were throwing ticker tape parades for these people. We were telling them how great they were. The president of the United States is now getting them fired from their jobs. This is outrageous. And he's creating another crisis because next week, in the next month, where people have to be hospitalized and there's a shortage of staff, of doctors, of nurses, of ICU beds because of there's no staff, he's going to cost people their lives over a vaccine that the doctors and nurses either have a natural immunity, right? We've seen it. Maybe they've already had COVID. He doesn't care. He wants the power over the people.
They just are so addicted to crisis. And then once they're done with one crisis, they start another one. It's just crisis after crisis. Do you think we're ever going to see accountability? We see these hearings. I'm sure there will be hearings coming up even on the vaccine, the legality of that. But no one ever does anything about it. It's just always talking. Do you think we're ever going to see action to stop these crises, or at least hold people accountable, or put pressure on them to actually resign or have to give some testament to what they've done and have to own up to it?
The American people deserve that. The American people deserve accountability. It's what's required in our constitutional republic. But I will tell you, they lie. They lie every day, whether it's Jen Psaki up at the White House podium or whether it's statements out of the White House. Look, this president hasn't taken a question in like 6 weeks from the press corps. One of the greatest upheavals in American history, crisis after crisis that we've just talked about. And the president of the United States is MIA. The vice president of the United States is MIA. They're not talking to the American people. So we're not finding out anything from them. And they lie. So the only way we're going to have accountability, the only way the American people is going to get to say anything is with their vote. And that's going to be, in one short year. We're 13 months away from the midterm elections, and that's going to be to sweep these bums out of the House and Senate and take back the majorities and end this Biden disaster when we do.
Exactly, and they'll all be MSDNC contributors by the end of it, CNN contributors. It's just, we saw it happen with the James Clappers and all the different kinds of people that were John Brennan's. They all go for their gigs afterwards and try to be stars, but they're not stars. They're falling stars, even if they ever were stars to begin with, because what they're doing to our country, it's really burning up our country at this point. David, thank you for what you're doing, exposing what's going on, and wish we didn't have to keep talking about it, but no one else is, so we'll keep talking and exposing it.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you soon.